I know for most of us that stretching is an afterthought. It's something that we don't think about after a long walk or after we've been sitting in a chair all day or after we've had our extremely hard leg workout. Thanks to my trainer, Dave, this morning, I can tell you right now that a stretch is exactly what I need to get on with my day. Or you can do it in the middle of your day or at the end of your day. Taking 10 to 15 minutes to lengthen those tight muscles helps the body align itself. And when the body's aligned, it feels good and you can do most of your activities without any discomfort. So that's what we're going for today. Now, disclaimer here, I am working with pets in the house and occasionally you may see them running in and out. I'll try not to get too distracted by their clearly, friskiness that's going on. You can hear in the background. But that being said, we're going to start by coming to a standing position. And in your standing position, we're really going to work on thinking about your feet first. So a lot of our weight is just going to drive back into the heel here. And we're just going to bend the knees and then straighten up a couple times. So let's do that a couple of times. Just bend and stretch. And let's add some breathing to this. So we're going to bend and then stretch up nice and tall. Let's do a couple more. Bend and stretch and really let the weight transfer into those heels. And then when you stretch tall, disperse the weight between the toes and the heel. And let's do one more. Bend and stretch. So that kind of gives you an idea of where you're tight. So now let's take one forward. We're going to just do a little rocking motion. And we have a couple props that we're going to integrate into our stretch. But we're going to rock from the front foot to the back foot in a nice, easy motion. And let the hips follow that rocking motion. So forward and back. Just giving yourself a second to assess where you are in space and then hold that lengthened position. So my front knee is bent and my back leg is nice and straight. I'm going to integrate some breathing and flow with the arms. So let's reach those arms up. Exhale, bend the elbows. Inhale, reach it up. Exhale. Now lengthen up with the legs too this time. So we're going to lengthen up and bend the elbows, come back. Lengthen up, bend the elbows, come back. One more time. Lengthen up. Bend the elbows, come back. Now let's take those arms down, around, and in behind. Let's roll the shoulder blades down and then lengthen out so your torso is looking to the front of your mat. So I want to stay lifted here and press my sits bones away from me. So this is really going to lengthen out that hamstring. And if it's feeling really tight, just, bend your knees, soften it. And stretching is more about, mobilizing the body. It's not about, holding that position so we're so uncomfortable. So we want to keep that nice length. And now bend that knee. Let's step those feet together, undo the arms, and then roll your spine up. And let's move on to side two. So taking it forward and back motion again. Again, we want those hips, especially if they're really tight from long walk or long periods of sitting. Give them a chance to move front to back, side to side, and that'll help with the stretch for sure. Good, and then we're just going to hold it there. Let's integrate the hands reaching up on your inhale. Exhale, come down. Up with the inhale, exhale. So I'm really thinking about the chest. Now let's add some leg movement. So lift up. And then bend that knee when you come down into those arms in that cactus position. Let's try a couple more. And last one here. Now let's take those arms down, around, and behind. Lengthen that front hamstring out and then look towards the front of your mat. Maybe give those arms a little lift. Taking some nice deep inhales and exhale. Lengthen out a bit more. And one more here. We're going to step those feet together. Reach down towards the toes and now start to roll your spine all the way up nice and easy. Lift those shoulders up, back, and down. Okay, so let's come down and do a little bit of work on our mat. Now we've got two props, and most of us have one of these at home. This is a loop band, and as you can see, the cat's very fascinated with it. And this is a yoga strap. Either one will work. They do give you different levels of support. So you go ahead and use the one that works best for you. I'm going to use my loop band today, if my kitten will let me. Hey, Mac, superstar. Now, I want you to come to the front of your mat, clasp underneath those legs, and then roll your spine down. So you are giving your body a chance to connect vertebrae by vertebrae until you're lying flat. Now, if you feel tension in your neck and shoulders, you can elevate your head with your hands or just place a pillow underneath your head. So we're going to start with the leg bends because I know some of us can be really tight. And I want to make sure you're feeling completely comfortable before we lengthen the legs. So we're going to do what's called a hip stir. And as you're doing this motion, just imagine the hip completely relaxed and that femur bone circling around and then switching to go the other way. Taking some nice deep breaths. We're doing about 4 or 5 circles in one direction and then 4 or 5 in the other. Now we're going to hold that band in the opposite hand and start to take the leg across, and let's stretch out that opposite arm and then bring it back. And just start to take it across, a little bit of a stretch through that glute, through that outer hip area, and then bringing it back. And let's do one more. Bring that hip all the way off the mat, so you're getting all the way across that low back as well. And then come back to center. Now do the opposite motion where you're gonna bring that leg out to the side and then bring it back in. So we go back and forth. And just a couple times. Just let the hand hold the band and the leg is completely supported by that band or strap or whatever you're using. You want to feel the support of the prop that you have. And then let's extend that leg. So we're going to place the heel up and it's reaching towards the ceiling, and really flex your foot towards you. So now you're really activating the muscles in the back of the leg. Now let's do a few pointing and flexing motions with the toe, pointing and flexing. And notice that you're transitioning from front to back when you move your foot, which is a great way to observe whatever tightnesses are happening in your leg. Now let's go to the outer edge of the foot and then the inner edge. So just let your foot rotate one way and then the other. That's giving that ankle bone some love. Now take that leg straight up towards the ceiling, and we're just going to take it down and up now. For this one, I really want to think about my abdominals helping support the movement. So the leg is relaxed as you're going up and down, pointing your toes on the way up, flexing to lower. Pointing the toes up and flex to lower. And then hold that knee in, and we're going to do bend and stretch. So this is one of those exercises where if you do have a flex band that gives you a little bit of play, it's going to be easier to work with. And even if you don't have a prop, you can still do all of these mobility exercises. They're going to help stretch and lengthen those leg muscles from the hip all the way down to the balls of your feet. Good. And on that next one, let's hold it out there and let's take it into a nice big stretch. Think about the lines from the heel to the ankle, or sorry, from the ankle to the knee and then the knee to the hip. So we want to create this nice long line. Now, some of you might be flexible enough to go further, but we're getting into a different type of stretch. So for now, let's really just focus on lengthening that hamstring. And ease off, and then go again a little deeper. Ease off the resistance, and then go a little deeper. Good, now we're gonna get into the dreaded IT band. Everyone's favorite. We have that outer thigh that we're just gonna stretch now. This time different from when we had our knee bend. We're gonna keep the leg straight, obviously, and we're going to keep the hip down. And then as an added bonus, if you want to just sickle the blade of your foot away from the stretch, you're going to feel that maybe right into the calf as well. And then moving your foot and then releasing some of that tension. We're going to hold these stretches for a good 30 seconds. And breathing into it And then on your exhale, let's come back through center and take that leg to the outside. Now, if I'm not thinking about this leg, what's happening in this stretch, this hip is going to want to come with me. Okay, so we don't want to go that far. We want to just make sure this other hip stays nice and long and reaching that whole leg and pressing it gently into the ground. So I'm really working here as I do the stretch. Yes, it's relaxing, but at the same time, I'm being aware of all the other things going on in my body. For example, if you're holding this band, what's happening in your shoulders? Have your shoulders start to become tense? Are you lengthening your neck muscles? Or are you straining them? So be aware of those other things that are happening as you're stretching. And then bring that leg all the way back up. Okay, now for my favorite part, we're gonna walk up that band. Take a breath in here. Release the band and let your leg float down slowly. Use your core muscles and reach those arms all the way back behind you. So lengthening those arms up overhead, just relax them behind you as you hold the band. Notice how the first leg feels, that one that you just stretched compared to the other side. So I think we're ready to move on to side two. So let's take that leg and place the band underneath and totally let it relax as you go into your hip stir or your circle. And just getting that nice open feeling in the hip as you rotate it around. And then, of course, moving in the other direction, taking the time to relax through the upper body. The upper body is not moving with you, keeping it nice and relaxed. Now let's move on to that sort of tick-tock motion. We're going to bring the leg across and then back. And I like to use my opposite hand to anchor my shoulder down, because I don't really want to move my whole body at this point. I really want to keep it in the hip and in the side of my leg, inner and outer thigh. And let's do a couple more like that. Inhale, exhale as you bring it across. Maybe just hold this one for a deep, full breath cycle, or 2 or 3, depending on how tight you feel. And as we're going through these exercises, if you want to pause the video and hold that stretch a little longer, I really do encourage that, because we're all at different levels of tightness and your body might need to stay there longer. And then come on back into center. And now let's extend that leg up towards the ceiling. And again, just give it a second to relax into the hip. So the leg is long and you're thinking about lining everything up from the hip through the knee and through the ankle. And just moving that foot a couple times up and down, pointing and flexing, and side to side, getting the blade of the foot, turning it out, turning it in. Paying attention to that foot as you do your stretch is important as well. And now we're going to take that leg up and down nice and easy. Keeping those abdominals turned on just enough so you're not feeling any tension in your back, and you have a nice neutral pelvic position. Easier said than done, right? If your hip flexors are tight. And by the way, if your legs, if you want to bend the knee as an addition to help support you, you can do that as well. Since we've done first side already, you should feel nice amount of length in that leg, so you can let it go. Now let's bring that leg down in front of us, and we're going to bend and stretch. And as you're bending and stretching, think of the front of the thigh and the back of the thigh. So you're getting an equal amount of lengthening through those muscles. And let's do a couple more. Who knew I was going to have an audience today with that kitty cat? He's the star of the show now, I think. And just a couple more like that. And then let's lengthen that leg all the way up. We're going to go into that IT band stretch again. So thinking about ankle, knee, and hip, try to keep your bum on the ground, or at least your sit bone, and then move into a little cyclical motion with the foot. So you're feeling that length all the way down the side. Breathing deeply as you do that stretch, especially if you're holding a lot of tension there. And remember what we talked about earlier, going into your body and just making sure the rest of it is nice and relaxed. And on one more breath, we're going to bring that leg all the way back to center. I think I may have forgotten to do our hamstring. So let's go ahead and lengthen that hamstring before we go to the outside. And take a little pressure off if you need to, and then come right back into that hamstring. I'm really thinking about my hip and sit bones staying connected to the ground here. And if for whatever reason you're not feeling that stretch, really think about the heel reaching up towards the ceiling and pulling that toe towards you. And that's going to give you a nice bit of extra length in the back of that leg or your hamstring area. Okay, and now we're going to switch it to the outside. So same thing, take that leg out to the outside, being mindful of that opposite leg. Well, I know this side is extra tight for me, so this is a little more effort to keep my hip down on this side. And maybe not going as far will support that level pelvic position. And then let's just hold it for another deep inhale and exhale. Check in with the rest of your body. Are your ribs sort of back onto the mat? Your shoulders relaxed, your neck relaxed. Inhale as you come all the way back up. Good. And now we're going to take that band off and we're going to reach the arms behind us as we float that leg all the way down. Reaching your arms, take a nice stretch overhead. And then on your exhale, let's see if we can peel ourselves up. Now, as you're coming up, you're using those core muscles. Reach towards those toes. Inhale, lengthen up, and exhale, peel it back down. Let the arms reach overhead. Let the shoulders release. Inhale and exhale. Chin comes to the chest. Keep reaching those feet away as you roll yourself up. And let's do one more. Third time is the charm. Really connect to that core. Lowering yourself down. No rush here. Exhale, that tends to help. And then loop that band around and we're just going to stretch the back and then we'll be set for our day. So sitting up nice and tall, let the shoulders move without the arms. So I'm going to press gently my shoulder blades together and then I'm going to release my shoulder blades. And I'm going to bring them together and release. And one more time, together, gentle squeeze through the shoulder blades and release. And this time when you release, let your back round as if you're doing a cat stretch. Really round that back. Take a breath in. Now we're going to extend as we pull the arms in, extend the chest, look up towards the ceiling as if you're doing a little cobra. But we're going to do it from a seated position. Let's do one more round. Lengthen those arms. Coming back to the back of the sit bones, then gently pulling yourself up and extending that spine with sternum reaching up towards the ceiling. And then slowly come back to neutral. Now for a strengthening exercise, we can go into some rowing motions. So you're getting that range of motion we just did in those shoulder blades, and you're strengthening that upper middle back, which is kind of neglected if you think about it. We don't get to do much. Turn your arms as they come into your body and then straighten those arms as you come forward. 3, 2, and 1. Now let's hinge from the hips forward. Think of this as a lower back stretch and a little bit of a hamstring stretch. Don't mind my kitty cat walking right in front of the camera. Pull those toes back, lengthen up nice and tall. And then slowly come all the way forward. Release your head, neck, and shoulders. Take your loop band and place it off to the side. And let's come on to all fours. And take a big breath. It's the Pilates and Pet show today. Let your hips sway from side to side. Find balance in your back body. And then in the front body, we're going to just do a nice little rotational stretch. And then we'll call it a day. Reach that arm up towards the ceiling. Take it underneath you and allow yourself to sit back. So you're getting a nice rotation through the upper middle back. Inhale, let's take it up again. Exhale and rotate. Expand and open the chest on your inhale, and exhale as you reach it away. Hold that stretch for a full breath cycle here, inhaling, and maybe coming up to the tips of your fingers on your other hand and exhaling deeply. Inhale as you come back to center. Now a little transitional stretch here. We're going to turn the palms in to face my knees here, or your knees, and then lean back ever so slightly to stretch the fronts of those arms. And try to press the whole palm from the thumb pad down to the fingers into your mat. If you're on the computer a lot, this is going to feel amazing. That gets very tight through those forearms. So now let's come back to parallel, fingers facing out to the edges of your mat. Now we're going to go to the side two. Reach that arm up towards the ceiling and take it underneath you. Sitting back in those hips. I'm going to extend those fingers in front. Inhale, reach it up. And exhale, take it under. And one more time. Inhale, reach it up. And exhale. Now you'll notice that I do each stretch about 3 times, and that's very deliberate. And that by the time I've done my 3rd stretch, the body is a little more receptive to going where I want it to go in the stretch. And then come back to center. Let's roll it up nice and easy. Take your your foot forward so you can lengthen that hip flexor. Now, we're going to tuck the tailbone under, so we're finding length through the quad here. And you can keep that foot down or you can curl it under. I find curling the toe under makes a little bit more of a connection here. So squeeze your glute and let's reach that hand up towards the ceiling. We're going to open the chest and stretch through the pecs. Reach that arm behind you. Inhale, take that arm forward. And let's do that 2 more times. All the while keeping that hip lengthening forward. And 1 more time, and let's hold it there. Now taking your other hand onto your knee, pushing your knee into your hand and your hand into your knee. That's going to add to your stretch. Bring yourself back to center and then slowly switch sides. So same thing on side 2. Curl your toes under, pull your hips forward, reach that arm up towards the ceiling, and then overhead and back. Let that arm come back to the front. So we're stretching multiple muscles here. Stretch that back, the shoulder, the chest, and the hip flexor. And then hold that stretch there, pushing your hand into your knee and your knee into your hand, and you're getting a little bit of an inner thigh stretch. Really open and rotate your chest. Bring it all the way back. Good, let's curl our toes under. We're going to come into a piked position through those hips. Walk your fingertips towards your toes. Okay, now let's go wide with the feet and bring your sit bones all the way down, coming into a nice deep hip flexor squat stretch. Try to keep your back nice and straight. And if this is hard to do, then rolling up the mat can give you a little extra support. And then 1 of 2 choices here. You can press into your feet and stand tall. We're going to do that again. Or you can come down into option B, which is stretching forward with your hands onto the ground in front of you, and then lengthening those hamstrings back behind you. Walk your hands up to your shins, bend your knees, round through your spine, and continue to roll your spine up. Standing tall, take a nice deep breath in. Exhale, reach it out. So that took all of 15 minutes, and we stretched pretty much the entire body. So something that you can try any time of day or night. Give yourself a nice stretch and feel amazing the rest of the day. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.